Welcome to another Bushwick Bears Petty Crime Review.
This week we're talking reckless driving with our guest Tyler Richardson.
No,
He's smiling and waving.
no,
So
we got to do an audio. You got to do an audio line. We have very few viewers on our YouTube thing. We should have explained that.
For anyone just listening, he's got a beautiful smile and a high wave.
That's too kind.
Reckless driving, is that right?
That is correct.
Reckless
Reckless
operation, reckless driving. Yeah.
We're a little sloppy.
Did they upgrade the? Is it not? Is it like driving while intoxicated became driving under the influence?
To reckless operation.
I
probably,
think so.
Or it just probably varies by state or county or whatever. It's
Just-
like the jaywalking thing.
Yeah.
It's
Now,
the
what else do they
definition
call
of it,
jaywalking?
like, and the terminology probably varies by like.
Just to
state
make sure
county.
if you get drunk and drive a tractor, it still counts as a violation.
Well,
yeah, and that's
yeah.
why they keep changing the name. Like, we need to make sure they know you can't even get on a unicycle.
It's true. Yeah,
Well-
you can get ticketed for drunk biking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is still strange to me because what if you don't have a license at all? Which you
Because
don't need
you lost
for
it to
like.
And you can get a ticket
Right.
walking drunk. Like, hey, you're drunk in public.
Right. We
Right.
talked about this, I think, on the last, maybe on the one episode. Or I
We
don't know.
did. We hit this one. Now, here's my question for me. When I think reckless driving, it's distinct from drunk driving. And so, how do you drive recklessly while you're sober? What does that take?
Well, I can only tell you about how Virginia feels like you can be reckless. I don't like that they put reckless. Reckless, it's so vague.
But it also kind of like implies intent. It's
Right.
like you actively had disdain for the rules of society. Like it's not a mistake. It's like manslaughter versus murder.
I'm
They
gonna
just
t-
assume it's the murder version.
I'm going to tell you guys right now that I am already 5 out of 5 bears on reckless. I am so in favor of this law. And yeah, it does mean reckless and that the intent is bad. You're right, and I am 100% behind this.
The thing I think of is texting. I think texting while driving is
That's
the
right.
It's
thing.
worse.
And yet, I'm so good at it.
I will say I frowned on people texting and driving who weren't me, so I understand where you're coming from. And Derek, I understand where you're coming from because even looking back, it is a petty crime, but I'm like, yeah, you can't just, my mother's out there, and that's why I care.
Right.
Right, yeah. I mean, listen, I've been charged with reckless op.
You have.
Yeah, and I got let out of one. And in both times, I was very guilty. And, I mean...
What did you do?
For the first one, I tried to hit some kids.
What?
And you didn't kill them, and they called the cops.
So they gave you reckless instead of attempted vehicular homicide?
So I just got my license, and we took. I borrowed my dad's car. I'm driving around with my buddies. We're just like looking for somebody to buy us beer, and we're looking for drugs or whatever. We're just out like being hooligans, you know. And there are these kids who we have beef with in the neighborhood, and they threw a rock at my dad's car, missed
Okay.
it. So I chased them. This is Toledo, Ohio. It was like pretty busy. It was like a Friday night. I chased them driving through a parking lot, like a gas station parking lot, like one of those gas stations that comes at the corner of like two streets of an X or whatever. And so it has entrances on both sides.
Oh, you took a shortcut.
Yeah, it's like a shortcut of sorts. So I drove them through there, and they ran out across the street into traffic in front of a cop car. And the cop car went and chased them down. And then I came running around the corner. I'm like, get in the fucking car, get in the fucking car. And I sped off to get away from the cops, but they caught up with us.
No need to rush. We got his license plate.
Yeah. And this was like a Friday night for them. This was like fun for them because it was 4 white teenagers in someone's dad's car, and I had a black officer and 2 women officers. And the black officer pulled his nightstick out and was like, "This is my club. I'll beat you with it." Like straight up. And it's like, what? And I told my parents about that. My mom's like, "I wouldn't have given a fuck if he did." There's no like, because that's a like my uncle who's a cop. He told me, he's like, yeah, I would, he was supposed to be reprimanded. He can't say that sort of thing, whatever. But nobody's going to take my word at it. I'm a delinquent.
You tried to run some people.
Yeah. And I'll die in my grave that I thought that this guy said this to us, and so he gave me a reckless op to go home, show that to your parents or whatever, And I had my license suspended for 3 weeks, but then my parents were like, "You can't drive." For a while.
Well, sounds like you learned your lesson.
It does.
No, I kept driving. I try to run kids over to this day.
Do you get road rage?
No, sometimes, yeah.
Do you get road rage?
Yeah. But it was, I never thought about it. Like, my road rage was I would scream and beat the steering wheel.
Yeah.
Because in the DMV, District, Maryland, Virginia, the traffic is for no reason. And you'll sit there for 4 hours. And when you get to the place where the rubbernecking began, you're like, I need to see ahead on the side of the road. Something that shows me I didn't just waste my life.
Yeah, horrific accident.
And there'd never be any
justified this waste of time.
Right, yeah, and I would lose my mind, especially if I was going to be late to work.
Yeah.
Even though everybody understands the traffic, I would just be like, why? Why do people do this? Which is why I can't wait for self-driving cars. So that's when my rage really comes out.
See, I don't get mad. I've been reckless, but only in whimsical ways. Like one of my friends in high school, when we first got cars, we used to literally play bumper cars in the parking lot of our high school. Like, one of us would be waiting to get out of the lot, and the other one would pull up and just gently give a little love tap to the one in front of him. And then everybody thought they were about to see two people argue over an accident. But no, I put my car in reverse and give him a little bump in return. And that's how I destroyed my first Pontiac Bonneville's engine at 120,000 miles. And then the only other thing I remember is some skateboarder. I just thought this would be super funny, and it was. It was skateboarding in front of my... I forgot what he did. He did something to bother me, but he was skateboarding in front of my car, and I just put it into neutral, but just revved the engine and just scared the shit out of him when he fell off of it.
He was catching rides on the back of Jeeps and in an
just being cool.
Yeah.
I see you, Marty McFly.
Yeah.
And you had a responsible way of expressing your rage.
Yeah. Not rage. It was whimsy. I say again, it was whimsy.
I remember this one time, and this isn't the story, but we were driving up for Last Comic Standing, and I was with my friend Tim, who was very straight-laced, government job. At this time, I was probably at my wildest.
Is this Tim Miller?
It is. You know Tim?
Yeah, I know Tim.
Yeah. What's up, Tim?
Hey, Tim.
Three guys on. We're driving up, and it's pretty early in the commute. He doesn't smoke weed. I do. And I had this new bowl. It was sterling silverish looking.
Yeah, make sure.
Like a compartment underneath. So I'm driving, and I start driving with my knees while I'm assembling this and smoking it. And you could see him go from excited for the trip and the audition to what the fuck, and then eventually just anger as he starts looking out the window that way. And I was like, are you okay? And he was like, come on, man, what the fuck are you doing? And I'll never forget it.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is if you're with somebody who, or the opposite, if you're because I don't like to be in as an adult in my car driving from between state lines, with that sort of thing going on. And if somebody gets mad about that, insistent about that at this point, if I'm in somebody else's car, I don't care. But if it's in my car, I'm very particular because I don't want to get in trouble.
I mean, it's your car. And even if
yeah.
it's not your car, if you're the passenger, I think when you get older, you understand, I don't have a problem with you smoking. I have a problem with the thought of us getting pulled over and you getting caught and I'm somehow worse off.
Right.
Virginia has the worst fucking traffic in the world.
Oh, my God, yes.
I lived there for 4 years. I mean, all the time that I wasn't gone. But I remember the other reckless op that I got out of, or one of them I got out of. I was late from a wedding because I was stuck in Virginia traffic or whatever, and I had to drive to Cincinnati, and I'm driving over the border of Kentucky into fucking Cincinnati. And I'm doing 100-something miles an hour in a Honda Accord, and I'm doing 80 in a 55 basically, right? And I at one point in time, the cop who ended up pulling me over said that when I came over the hill, my wheels were off the road enough that he's like, I've never seen that in like real life before. And I was like, I'm late for this wedding or whatever, you know, and I just got back from being out on an operation, sir. If you can let me go, here's my military ID. Let me out of it.
Military ID will do that almost every time.
Yeah, almost, yeah. Except for the time that I was taking my grandma's ashes in the back of my car to her funeral. I got a cop fucking give me a ticket.
Wow.
What a shithead.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
I see the ashes.
Yeah.
I don't care.
And it was, and here's the irony of it too, is I was an active duty military person. It was the anniversary of the USS Coal bombing. The first one is when my grandma passed away, and I was on the ship that saved the coal. And taking my dead grandma to her funeral, and I still got a fucking ticket out of all those conditions. Like the most, like ironically, like patriotic I've ever, it haphazardly been in my life.
Was he at least an MP, the kind of person who could be a dick like that, or was he just a regular guy? Like,
no, he was Ohio State Highway Patrol. Mm-hmm. Just a guy who his whole purpose is to be a hall monitor for the turnpike.
Now, for us laymen, does MP mean military personnel?
It does, because when you run into a cop and you have military ID, most of them will give the respect, like, I appreciate your service. Look, don't roll through stop signs anymore or whatever.
Yeah.
If it's an MP, I could see them being like, yeah, me too, buddy. Stop fucking speeding on the base.
I see.
I mean, I should have gotten tickets. There were 6 instances where I got pulled over and let out of tickets, where I was blatantly speeding, and I've gotten a ticket on the 7th one or whatever. I should have not gotten any preferential treatment. I totally like... But it's a thing of like a social courtesy or whatever the case may be. But if you charged me for it all, I'm like, yeah, I get it. I am breaking the law. This is a law I'm supposed to be upholding through the Constitution or whatever kind of bullshit, you know? So,
I mean, it's like holding the elevator door open. You don't have to have the door held for you. It's just something that we're used to, because you're used to, if I walk in right behind Boris, he's probably going to hold the elevator. If he doesn't, I'm standing there like, wow, that was a dick move, but the elevator will come.
I didn't know you were a military person. I would have held the door for you.
As you should.
Yeah. Thank you.
Protect you while you sleep at night.
Yeah.
The one time I got ticketed, I ran over some kids.
Wait, really or no?
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, I just never know. You're full of surprises.
I know. No, that was a callback.
The one time that I felt real fucking dumb, I remember I wasn't even like being reckless necessarily. I was just really lost, and it was before, like, actually I think it might have been, I had like if you remember the flip phone, the first one that had navigation on it. It was like it was like the Envy or something. It had like a keyboard, and it opened up this way. And I just remember being lost, and I ran a light because it was like a hill, and I ran a light, and a cop, and this is like the typical thing they say not to do, which is like volunteer information. Oh. So he was like, do you know why I pulled you over? And I was like, yeah, because I ran the light back there. And he's like, actually, I pulled you over for speeding.
You ran a light.
But he did ticket me for speeding and not the light, so that at least I didn't like totally put my foot in my mouth.
There's nothing like snitching on yourself.
Truly.
You get pulled over by anybody. But it is one of those things where, like, I think in Ohio, the first one I ever got, it was defined by, driving over the... Like, if you drive over the speed limit by 10 to 15 miles an hour, it's just a speeding ticket.
Right.
But if it's like certain states, it's 15 and over, it's reckless op at that point. Because the faster you do go, obviously, the harder it is to control the vehicle. And you have to be conscious of that if you're smart enough to
If a deer or a kid jumps out on the highway, you're probably not going to react as you should.
Right, yeah, for sure. Or another car stops or whatever the case may be. So, are you lost in that?
Yeah, I'm looking at the audio signal really quick. I just want to check. I think
Tyler probably has to bury his face more.
Yeah, it might just be going into the mic more, but I can compress it after the fact.
I'll try to talk a little bit louder if that helps.
Yeah, see, I can see right away the audio waveform got bigger for you.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm far too soft spoken, and I apologize to those of you.
You're good. We'll compress it up. But we should get to your story in Virginia.
Yeah, and it kind of plays along with what Derek was just talking about, how they qualify reckless driving. I was doing good 30. It might have been 35 over the speed limit.
Yeah.
And looking back, because Boris and Derek have been very adultish. I also am an adult, and I can look back. I was dead wrong.
Adult.
Right?
Yeah.
Well,
You're
some
more
kids
adult.
have kids.
Yeah, that's true.
Pulling
Touche.
outs for suckers. I look back, and not only should I have gotten my ticket, I probably should have been fully punished. We'll get there. Because without meaning to, when I heard you talk about running through that red light while you were messing around with the old flip phone, I was like, yeah, it's crazy, and somebody could have died. Just like how I love to drink, I've certainly drunk and drove, but when you think about the fact that something could go wrong, I know people who've killed people, and they don't remember when it happened.
Oh my God.
They remember coming to on the side of the road with the cops around them and people telling them that they killed somebody. So I can see the error of my ways, and it's sad that it's in hindsight.
Or
But-
how lucky we are that didn't happen.
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
Like I could be sitting somewhere right now.
Yeah, you'd be in jail still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this night began, like most comedians, with a story about running into the law. I had a comedy show in Richmond, and I was driving back home, so it was like an hour and a half.
Filthy rich.
Oh, I mean, they did pay.
Coalition Theater, by any chance?
No, I have been there, and I've got a lot of love for anybody in Richmond that's listening.
Both of you.
I'm going to share this so that they can hear it. I think that I was in the Funny Bone, I believe. And hopefully the Funny Bone is still around. This year has been wild.
Yeah.
So I've been drinking. Not enough that I think I was drunk. And if you know me, you know that I've got a pretty high tolerance. I shouldn't have been driving. I will say that. I'm fine at the beginning of the drive. And as I reach 45 minutes to get home, I start speeding because I have to piss. Don't ask me why I didn't just take an exit and piss at a gas station or something. There are so many things I could have done.
Yeah.
Right.
Instead, I thought, let's just put your foot down and get home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just solve both problems as
Honestly,
fast as we can.
I
Getting home and being, yeah.
I think I'm more dangerous behind the wheel with like a terribly full bladder than I am drunk.
You don't
Yeah.
think
You
right.
just stop. Yeah, you really don't.
You're messing with the AC like it's too cold. That's going to make me have to piss. No music. Let's turn that way down.
Yeah.
I'm doing... I know at some point I was doing 100 and probably over. And I had done that before. Like I went to VCU and I would come home a lot of weekends because my friends went to George Mason, which was closer to home. So I would do that hour and a half. I would put in a Coldplay album and go. Don't ask me about
No, that's reckless living.
I love them. Parachutes, Rush of Cold Blood. So I had done this, and that hour and a half, I had done it in like 35.
Holy shit.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm doing it, and I'm not thinking about the fact safety corridor. Does that mean anything to the two of you? Probably, Derek.
Yeah.
No.
We might have to like converge on this explanation. What I think a safety corridor in Virginia is the penalties are extra high in this, I think, commuter, highly populated area.
Yeah.
So you don't want to fuck around at all within the safety corridor because they are going to hit you with the hammer.
Yeah. Fines are like doubled.
Yeah.
Basically,
Gotcha.
because it is like high traffic, high exchange, and then also with all the easy pass revenue and everything like that all comes through. It's just, yeah, it really should be called the money zone, and don't fuck it up.
And Virginia is a Commonwealth state. That means nothing to anybody who's never been in Virginia. But if you have, that means they want your money.
Yeah.
They'd love you to send you to jail or prison or something. But first and foremost, you need to pay us.
Yeah.
So I'm in the safety corridor when I get pulled over. And I think I was doing like 88.
In a
Like a 55.
That's a good.
right. That's the next.
Yeah, you're trying to get to the Back to the Future. At that
Right?
speed,
And
yeah.
it was at least when you talked about the wheels coming off the ground, I was like, That didn't happen that time, but I remember when the wheels came out. The wheels don't come off the ground if you're acting responsibly.
Right. Yeah.
It's a
That's
heavy
true, yeah.
vehicle.
Yeah.
Like, that hill came out of nowhere. Yeah, but if you weren't doing 70, you wouldn't have. Anyway.
Right. Yep. Yep.
So I get pulled over, And I'm like, scale of 1 to 10, I'm at a 9.5. I think it was visible when the cop approached that I was going through something because he didn't ask me. And you know how they have the flashlight that can see if you've been drinking.
Well, that was a scale for drinking, not needing to pee.
Needing to pee.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
There's a flashlight that can determine if you've been drinking.
Yes, because they come up and shine it right in your face, which is
the eyes. And
That's just to see how quickly your pupils react to the flash.
No. Your breath.
What?
When the light hits, it can tell if you have alcohol in your system.
No.
What?
You can ask them not to shine it on you, but yeah, the light does help with that. And if I'm wrong, somebody please tell me, but I feel 98% certain of that.
Wow.
That it's a flashlight that they shine and it knows.
I think something about the light, and I don't know if all UV rays can pick that up or something, but something about a light they flash, and I really hope Derek proves me right in a second, that it can detect alcohol in your breath. And it might be a heavy amount of alcohol.
Yeah.
But He didn't ask me about any of that. He didn't ask me about the smell of weed, which was most certainly on my person. He's just like, you were going really fast. And I was like, yep. And it's almost like you can't sit still.
Right.
So, and I think that helped me because if he had made me blow, this would be a different story.
Right.
So I was like, officer, I'm very sorry. I am, because he got me like 15 minutes normal driving from home. I was so close. I was like 3 exits away maybe.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was speeding because I'm coming from Richmond. I was doing this comedy show. And I really need to pee. I apologize. Do what you have to do. And then I
Just
asked
make it
him,
quick for the love of God.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it's supposed to take. I know that I have had quicker service other times that I've been pulled over. Have you guys ever been pulled over smoking a cigarette or anything like that?
Not smoking a cigarette.
No, not smoking a cigarette. No.
Smoking weed.
Yeah. Ooh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I've been pulled over smoking a cigarette, and I have asked if I can flick it because I know that's littering.
Right.
And every officer always said, "Yeah, go ahead, man." I asked, "Hey, do what you got to do. Can I please just get out of the car and piss?" It was grass, forests. And he said no. So I had to sit there. It took him no less than 20 minutes to look back through my shit and all. I feel like it's been done in 5 before.
Yeah.
And so I sat there and waited. I did not piss myself, which in hindsight I should have done. My wife said you should have just pissed yourself.
Right.
So he gives me my ticket and we begin to take off. He doesn't take off before I do. So we begin to leave.
That's the trick they do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I want you to fuck around again so I can really get you.
Yeah.
And I drove enough that he put distance between us and I pulled back over and I peed until bones came out of me. And it was a special night, but this was the first time I had really been in any kind of trouble. The first time that jail had been mentioned in the same sentence as me from an authority. Because the consequence for reckless in Virginia is, I forget what the fine is. It's high. It's probably $500 to $1,500. And I think you could do 30 to 90 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's plausible. That's one of those things that's yeah, I had lost my license for 3 weeks or a month or whatever the case was, but I could have gone to juvie, sort of thing. They will put you, they give that variance on it because they put down that I was driving over speed limit, I was operating in that way. But if you're going twice the speed limit and you're being arrogant or whatever, they leave that flexibility so that they can fuck you if they want or need to,
And I'm a black kid. My luck sucks. If I had gone into that thinking there's no way they're going to give me jail time, I know I'd have been sitting still for a minute. So I freak out once I find out jail is possible and I start calling lawyers. Have you guys hired lawyers before?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a reality check.
Yeah.
You don't think they want that kind of money for something small. When you think of a murder trial, and I've never been accused of murder, based on what I know now, I assume that anybody who's hiring a lawyer that's accused of murder, $100,000, maybe more $1,000 that they might have to pay, not from this crime, but there were crimes that I had to go to court about that I was told 20, 30. I think somebody even told me $50,000 once, and I was like, but I didn't kill anybody.
Right, yeah.
So,
The whole process is just super expensive.
Which, I mean, good for the lawyers.
Right.
Everybody gets a piece.
Yeah,
right.
so
Yeah.
I'm calling around. I finally find a guy who's like, okay, I'll help you out for like a couple $100. Okay, that's a lot more my speed. I forget how old I was. I was probably 24-ish.
Not necessarily the lawyer you want.
No.
But it's the lawyer
No,
you're getting.
Because in a
Lawyer
more
you-
serious
yeah.
crime, that will fuck you.
Yeah.
And I've had a public defender, and free, I got what I paid for because I went to jail on that one. So this guy, I feel confident. I go to the court, and I'm calling him before I actually get there because I want to pay him. I feel more confident paying people prior to service.
Right.
Mostly just because if I were him, I would feel uncomfortable representing you in court and then assuming that I can hit you up with a PayPal invoice if you don't cancel your phone number.
Right.
I get to court, and he's not answering his phone. He wasn't answering his phone days beforehand. So now I'm standing in front of the courthouse like, please, dude, answer your phone. I need to know you're here. And he didn't. I go in. They call my name.
Yep.
I think I got a $300 fine, and I had to take a driver improvement class, and then it would be expunged.
All right.
So I was like,
Without
sweet.
the lawyer. There was no lawyer there.
No lawyer there. Didn't matter. When I left the courthouse, I call again. This time he answers. And I was like, hey, man, everything went fine.
Except you not showing up.
Yeah. Fuck are you doing?
And you'd paid him
Yeah.
already.
I had not paid him.
But you
good.
tried.
Yeah.
I was trying, and he's like, oh, it was just your first. You really didn't have any problems before. I didn't think it was necessary to get in all the trouble, which is cool.
Except
Especially
he
because
didn't
I
tell
didn't
you.
pay you. Yeah. Pick up the phone while I'm standing in front of the courthouse
Or
and
just
tell
say
me
it right
that.
away. Right.
Right. So it all worked out. It was a panicked morning, but yeah.
I mean, like, black dudes are never fucked over the first time they ever appear in front of a judge.
In
So,
Virginia.
Historically speaking, like, everything's on your side statistically. I mean, this is a complete fallacy.
You're calling me from jail? What?
Here in the South?
If you had told me this 200 years ago, I'd have believed you. But
See, now DC, did you consider DC like the South?
no.
It's not, right? The South really kind of starts almost at Norfolk to me. Like Norfolk's like Suffolk for sure, because
And he pronounces these right.
and that's where the Confederate flag belt buckles really start to come out, is like that part of Virginia. And then once you get to North Carolina, game on. But like
Yeah, where they call it Jefferson Davis Highway and not Route 1.
right.
Is that really what it is there?
Oh, yeah. Even in Northern Virginia, Route 1 is technically Jefferson Davis Highway, but they don't refer to it like that until you get to your Norfolk and Suffolk and Richmond, where they've got the monuments that I think they tore down, right?
Yeah, they took them down. Down. They're in my bedroom now.
Mailed them straight to Derek's apartment.
I hump Jefferson Davis's face every night.
I paid top dollar, so you're welcome, Virginia, for the new highways. No, I'm just kidding. That's horrible. But yeah, no, Richmond for sure was like, it's, historically kind of like shown that. But like, but DC is like so metropolitan.
Yeah.
That it's not really like I would think as much of a consideration.
I don't think I ever saw any form of racism in D.C. That's not to say it didn't exist,
Right.
but I've seen it in every place that I've lived with the exception of D.C.
It's just more through legislation than personal
Right.
action.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
The last racism I saw out of DC was when Nancy Pelosi took a knee.
Wearing a kente cloth.
Oh yeah, the Capitol riots. That was like another one, I guess. But anyways, well, thankfully Biden's got the place on military lockdown, so nobody can be racist there.
I just hope that everybody who participated in the Capitol riots has been identified and fired. And I'm not generally for that. If racism's involved, my bias from a black guy is kind of for that. But in general, I think it's a little fucked up. Like Becky from the park, right?
Oh, you talking about
Park?
The one that called
Central
the cops
Park?
on the bird watcher?
Amy Cooper.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was dead wrong.
Right.
She deserves a lot of things to happen to her.
Sure.
She doesn't deserve people finding out where she works and costing her employment and stuff like that. Like that's too far for me. Capitol riot people, all for it. Her, I'm like, you didn't hurt anybody. She could have.
Yeah, I think the cops.
It's
I
true.
think the cops to like. I know it's really popular to. I hate cops, but I think like I've met enough cops over the years that like. I think a reasonable enough cop would have met Christian Cooper, the black guy who was accused of it.
And been like, this bitch is crazy.
Yeah, I've been like, yeah, this woman's just hysterical. And I know that sounds like misogynist, but she's being racist. So I think they would, I don't think like that, but you never know.
No, you
I mean,
don't.
it's Central Park. It's also not Gainesville, Florida. So I think Gainesville, they probably would have called out the SWAT team and we'd be holding vigils for them. But like, but whatever. Yeah, I'm kind of like, I'm on the fence about that because like, I mean, it's how's this woman gonna like learn and grow sort of thing. But if like her business, I don't know. It's a lot of murky waters.
Now, if you own a business, different story kind of, because I think that people should be allowed to say, I don't want to give you money.
Right.
Like the homophobes who don't want to make a birthday cake for gay people. I think you should be allowed to do that. You can't tell me how to run my business. However, it is also within the gay people who wanted a cake's right to let every person with ears and eyes know what you did. And if those people who hear don't want to give your business any money and you go out of business, then that's fair game because you took a chance when you stood by your homophobia.
Yeah, although I will say in that cake incident, at least unless I'm mistaken here, feel free to correct me, it was like they were lawyered up going from Christian cake shop to Christian cake shop. Look, because it wasn't just they would have lost. They won the lawsuit, that cake shop, in the end.
Good.
And they would have lost if the gay couple went into the shop and said, I want that cake, and they were like, I will not sell you this cake because you're gay. That's just textbook discrimination. They would have lost the lawsuit. But what it was they wanted a custom cake, and so it's considered like artistic expression.
Right.
And they were like, I don't want to make this cake for this institution that my religious beliefs don't support. And they went apparently to like several cake shops and found one that refused to make it, and then sued that one to get
it's
a lawsuit going, which
and,
to me is like, now you're just starting shit.
And all it was, but they just wanted a naked child on a cake. And it's jacked up that Christian couple wouldn't bake it for them. It's discriminatory. And
I didn't mind that they wanted a baby naked on a cake, but they had veins in the penis that they wanted to.
But a boy baby.
well,
that's gay.
The child was also in heels. Naked and in heels. Yeah, I don't know.
We've gone a long way from
we've
reckless
gone a long
driving.
way from reckless driving. As we always do, we start to debate the nation state on our podcast, which has no HR department. And
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. Well, that protects HR. I saw a thing from a comic I won't name because I don't like him, but he actually made a good point. He said human resource departments protect the bosses. The labor unions protect the workers, but mainly they protect the labor unions.
True, but
yeah,
that was pretty on the money.
Anyways, but in the case of like, I mean, we sound super or at times I probably sound the most like libertarian, quote unquote, on this fucking show, but I'm not dumb enough to not know that we need to have infrastructure, and that infrastructure needs to be maintained to some degree. But I think the bureaucracy of all of this shit is what we're always like talking about not liking. I think there has to be a way to be able to ensure that people who pay taxes and go to work are able to share a well-maintained road at a reasonable speed. I think 55 sometimes is like, if you go to like certain states, man,
The
it's like
states
85.
that no one drives through. Montana's great, but no one's there.
Man, I know, I
Right.
get it, but it's like even in like North Carolina, my wife and I, we go hiking there a lot, and the speed limit's like 65, but people are doing 75, 85 on the side of a mountain, and you're like, I'm not trying to be a bitch or nothing, but it's like, this isn't safe either, and it's like, it's already fucking bad enough. Like, I'm fine with a guy who, you know, didn't do that great in high school if he pulls you over for going twice the speed limit.
See,
how he feels about cops?
my problem with that stuff sometimes is just that I think I'm pretty good at texting and driving. and they're like arbitrary rules, because I know people who are terrible drivers who dead sober, alert in the middle of the day, not touching their phones, are 100% worse than I am drunk on my phone. Not that I should be driving like that, but it's just I got rear-ended yesterday, 2 days ago, by some old guy. It was totally harmless. It was like he didn't even do any damage. But like as soon as I came out, I even had to like stop him from coming out of his car right away, because he was about to open his car into another car's traffic. And I'd be like, and I'm literally just like, don't stress, relax. There's no damage done. I just wanted to come out of my car. My wife was with me just to make sure that my car is fucking old as shit anyway. Like even if there's a scratch there, but he had like a rubber thing on his bumper, and I was just kind of like, you're old as shit. Get home safe. Don't hit anybody
The
else.
moment that Boris should have had a citizen's arrest. I think that you could have given him a reckless driving ticket.
I mean, truly, like, but we let people drive. We don't I mean, at that age, you can easily argue that we should be testing people like every year to make sure their faculties are still there.
I remember my grandpa towards the end of his time, he was getting tested like pretty routinely.
But how old did he have to get? Because my grandma's 81 and she hasn't been tested.
Oh, I mean, this is Ohio. He died in his mid 60s, so he was still getting tested. Like, but he found a way. He memorized the eye chart, so he just went in and fucking just they're like, whatever. What's the?
He might have also had some incident that spurred that though, because I don't know that they can. Like, I think they
it wasn't every year, but it's like every 2 years as you get older.
There are
it
age
deserves to be
discrimination
taken
laws.
away. Like you can get to the point where you're just dangerous.
Right.
There was one
and
time
voting too.
my car got
Yes!
hit. Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
But I had a car. It got hit one time while I was parked. It was parked in the street from my grandma's house. This dude hit it, and then like I ran outside, and I'm like ready to fight this guy because he was driving recklessly or whatever. And then the guy pulls over in front of my car that's parked, and he gets out, and it's this like it's on a Sunday. This like 85-year-old guy who's like shaky and stuff, and he had on his all black suit like he was coming from a funeral, like, so sorry about the car. And then like his grandson got in the car. He had like a grandson with Down syndrome with him, and I'm like, man, I'm not gonna call the cops or report this. I'm just gonna live with this dent, even though it was probably irresponsible of me.
Right, because if
like,
they
let
can
this
kill
guy-
somebody.
They can kill somebody. And I'm like, but you know what? I'm so committed to not being a snitch that I won't like do that. So like you mentioned the Capitol riots, it's like I understand. Like I'm not actively rooting for the government, but if you did go and you get fucked up, you get fucked up. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, you tried to take on the government. You got to be prepared to get your ass kicked at that point.
Right, a little bit, yeah. But I'm also not out there going like, go identify him and get him. I'm like, come on, man, who's trying to be on the cops' side? You know, I get it. It's bad. Everybody.
No,
like,
They're all racist in my eyes.
Sure, no, I mean, yeah.
There were black people among that crowd too.
And
Well, they
those
were the
black
most
people
racist.
should be treated worse than anybody. I'm sure that they are.
I want to make sure they're treated worse than the white people.
Sir, what the fuck are you doing
well,
in here with all these people?
As you know, the justice system already does, so
Yeah, that's true.
they're fine.
Hello from jail.
No, but it's a thing where, like, I mean, yeah, but if you saw, like, some of those people who were there, it was, like, old Medicare, like, feeble people who are just, like, malnourished, malinformed, and just, like, byproducts of, like, a poor, bad system. I'm not asking for empathy with all of them, because there were clearly a lot of, like, you know, militia bros who were trying to like do shit or whatever, and those people should, you know, face the consequences if the government can catch up to them. I'm not going to go out there and start rounding them up for the fucking government.
I mean, that's the thing, though. I do think there deserves. This is totally off topic at this point, but I think there deserves to be a distinction between the ones that like literally fought cops to break into a Capitol building.
Yes.
The ones that bashed people in with flags and had like bear canister sprays and shit. And then that's kind of the crazy part is that at first it seemed like less of a big deal than it was because there were different groups of people there, and some of them were like violent and trying to break in, and others are literal fucking morons who like went on weird groups online and like that fucking shaman guy is clearly just demented.
Right.
He
was at Black Lives Matter rallies too.
Although he was not pro Black Lives Matter, he was like a QAnon guy trying to like stunt on them.
Oh,
I'm gonna go smash this window because a black guy did it.
Right.
Yeah, there were like people trying to say that he was Black Lives Matter, but he was not. But like, but still, he's cosplaying the same way as like some of these like Antifa guys are cosplaying, where like he's not actually like. You know, he's in a play in his mind. He's creating a narrative.
He's an insane person.
Yeah, but so extent, I mean, he should still. You can't just not punish somebody like that because it creates too much of an incentive for other people to do it too. But I wouldn't necessarily put the book on him the same as I would the ones that are fucking in militia riot gear and fucking literally
it's hard to
going
determine.
to war.
Well, it's, you know what? Here's the thing is like I went to a few Black Lives Matter protests over the summer and
not to brag.
No. But I'm just saying like they were only there because I were there. No, they were peaceful and cool and everything. When the black people were doing the parts, but then when the overzealous white people got involved and started smashing up targets and shit, it's like, and then ratcheting up the people who are already there and already incensed, those people should also face like some level of I mean, I'm not trying to stunt for fucking Target, but it's like, if you're gonna sit there and be like, one aspect of this is a breakdown society, the other aspect is also a breakdown society. We need to start looking at some of these things a little bit like more smoothly in order to be like, this is a problem facing a populace as a whole.
I agree with that.
Someone who would probably loot. I'm not fucking with you.
As a proud looter.
Yeah, I do agree.
In my younger days, I would have looted too. It's not like, I mean, like, I'm not above the objective notion of like, my set of circumstances allow me to have this opinion. And my
it's just as my mother used to say, the water doesn't boil on one side of the pot. So when you have a bunch of people, no matter what their beliefs are, that you allow to destabilize part of society, other people with other beliefs are also going to destabilize their parts of societies, and then we get the downfall of America.
Well, we all agreed to a set of rules and principles, including traffic laws, which is why
back to
we
our
agreed
button.
not to speed, even though I think it should be 75, not 65. Like, it's the limit. Nobody says you have to do 75.
Right, I know.
It's true. Although I will say that I just automatically go 5 to 10 over. So if it's gonna be 75, I'm going.
But you
80,
go to the left.
85.
You're on the fast lane.
Yeah, I'm on the fast lane. I try not to pass people on the right in general. I feel like that's a thing you're not supposed to do.
And if you want to go slower, just stay to the right. It's a lot like walking. I didn't think it was that dangerous to text and drive because I was good at it too. But as I have lived in New York, where I no longer drive, people can't walk and text. They run into me when we're coming at each other. Now, I see them and I don't move because sometimes I'm like, okay, are you just going to run through me? But they never look up. So I get how dangerous.
You'll move.
Right, but I'm like, if you can't walk and do it, you shouldn't be in a vehicle where you could kill. And that goes for passing because people don't know what side of the street to even walk on.
Right, yeah. I mean, we did an episode about jaywalking a little bit ago. There's a stat that I forgot to include in that, but since the advent of cell phones, and especially notably after 2016, jaywalking fatalities went up by 200-something% because of the amount of people who are now glued to their phones,
which is crazy.
Yeah, which probably leads to a lot more reckless ops. So you have to look at it and be like, people want to be like, they always want to address the back end of a law with adding more laws instead of looking at what the symptoms and the causes are. of a fucking issue.
I'm just looking forward to self-driving cars because I think they will make everything safer. And then while your car is driving you, you can be on your phone, you can get drunk, you can break into the U.S. Capitol building.
I'll never.
You can do whatever you want. Whatever you want. Your car is driving.
I'll never get a self-driving.
Are you
car.
insane?
No, I like driving.
Even though you can like attach a steering wheel, maybe you still wouldn't want it.
I like driving, and I would do it for fun. But guess what? As soon as there's self-driving cars, your insurance for you to drive is going to cost $1 million fucking dollars.
Probably
because it's not going to be pooled, and so the entire cost of the accidents is going to be on the few people in the pool who are still driving themselves, and those are going to be the only accidents.
But if they want to pay for that, let them. Let's just really focus on all the good before you tear it down. Because I saw it. No more DUIs. No more rubbernecking. No more traffic for no reason. And if most of the cars, kind of like with vaccination, if most of the cars are self-driven, that means if Google tells you it's going to take 25 minutes for you to get over there, it's going to take 25 minutes because they know.
Yeah.
There's also an argument, too, that self-driving cars could lead to more jobs because the amount of tech that's going to be needed to implement these sort of things in the service and that sort of stuff. I just like it. I mean, like, I could do a lot. I text while I drive. I give head while I drive.
Oh, my. Don't just graze. No, keep going.
I give it to myself. But I'm just kidding. My wife would be happy to hear that. But, like, I understand. I also just, I guess I don't have enough faith also. It's not even that I don't, like, I mean, I it's so not an issue for me because I just don't even see it happening. We haven't been to the moon ever again. We don't go to outer space really. We don't have any
going to space.
We don't have any real innovation in America. All we do is put filters on our faces for Snapchat. Our only export is coolness and celebrity gossip. America doesn't do shit anymore.
We literally just created a vaccine, Derek.
We also created the disease.
The worst thing that you said there, like you're still Snapchatting?
No. No, I'm on TikTok. Sorry. I have like 5 followers on TikTok.
All right.
Great content.
I think we've come around to a pretty good button here. Tyler, thank you so much for doing the podcast.
We gotta rate the
We do.
We rate. There's also a review show and we rate things.
It's pretty arbitrary, but
and
we will do it.
True crime, like we're trying to check off as many categories as we can.
I know. I'm looking forward to hearing your ratings.
Oh, 5 out of 5. I'm still very. I know I'm the libertarians on the one, but I'm very much in the favor of the state apparatus being able to tell you that you are operating your vehicle recklessly and are a danger.
Okay, so 5 out of 5
fair.
as far as reckless driving laws.
The laws, yeah. As far as doing it, 0 out of 5. I don't know.
Oh, so if I didn't deserve it, like if I had a legitimate excuse, like I poured coffee and I stamped on it, then I would have gotten a 1.
Like no. Like circumstantially,
it's not rating your story; it's rating the existence of reckless driving laws.
Right? Yeah. You're also still guilty.
It's expunged.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't want to see somebody get. I don't want to see anybody. This goes for every crime we ever talk about. I don't want to see anybody wrongly accused and convicted of any crime whatsoever. But if you are in fact doing what you're doing wrong in this instance of reckless op, get a ticket.
I think I agree with the 5 out of 5 on reckless driving, even though I have my defense that I think. But the beautiful thing, sort of, about reckless driving is like if you ain't like you can text, just don't get caught. You can text, just don't swerve.
Yeah, you could you could drink and drive.
You can do anything if you don't get caught.
Yeah. Murder somebody, run over some kids, put them on a cake.
But here's the difference, right? You can drink. And if you get pulled over, no matter how safely you were driving, if the cop thinks you're drunk and you blow, you're gonna get a DUI. Reckless driving, you have to actually be You have to be doing something for the cop. You're either speeding by 35 miles over, or even though that one still I don't think is necessarily as dangerous if you're in control. But like if you're swerving, if you're doing something that's reckless, visibly so, then you're actually creating a danger on the road. So I think that's fair.
Yeah, and not that anybody asked, but I also agree with you guys. 5 out of 5 for reckless driving, because our mothers and grandmothers and children are out there.
Yeah.
Though I will say, I just want to point out for anybody who might be judging me, this happened at like the wee hours of the morning. There was like nobody on the road. Not that means I wasn't speeding, because I was. but there was nobody around.
Also, you're fucking flawed too if you're judging. That's not what you're here for. We're talking about crime. You can't be here to judge.
I'm judging the shit out of everybody for every circumstance. I'm a human. I can't help it.
As long as they're petty crimes, I think it's fine to judge. Because if you were having like a pedophile come on, that's a major one. And like, okay, now don't judge me because this kid was shaking his ass.
We can't.
Like you wouldn't believe.
We can't do that. We like to make pedophile jokes too much to have a real pedophile on. It would just ruin the whole vibe.
We inadvertently had a pedophile on our first Zoom show.
Let's not get into that.
We will get into it in a moment because I'm so curious.
We were hacked, and let's just say I am still in direct communication with the FBI.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is an instance where I'm okay with snitching.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I snitched to multiple federal agencies and the police.
I don't know them at all.
Yeah. You want to tell folks where to find you?
Yeah, I have a podcast called Strawberry Cough Podcast. It is because of the strain of marijuana, so if you like that, hopefully we'll be on the same page. And I just do a lot of little skits, horror stories, most that have like a humorous twist, and the occasional guest. And I am hoping to have the Bushwick Bears on soon. I've got some questions for them.
Lovely. Cool.
Boy.